Hi everyone, so 16th of August, end of the week. Let's run through what I did this week and essentially what the life of delivery manager was like this week. Start of the week, we did a interesting session named Non-Mandatory Fun Time. So this is something which was put in place prior to me getting here, but I've increased the cadence of it, which is where we get together informally as a team and we get on with something interesting online activity of some sort. So this time we chose an online escape room and went on and sort of had a go at it. Which sounds, initially might come across to you as thinking, oh, it's just a bit of waste time. But actually I found that it really helps bring the team together. It really helps that sort of camaraderie between the team members and increases that communication. Just helps increase the cogs of work. Similar to how you might have in a real life office, because obviously now that everything's virtual, you don't have the same casual conversations. You don't have the same, just making a cup of tea and someone else turns up and you have a quick chat. You don't have any of that, and so this actually sort of acts, so it's meant to act as a substitute for those minor conversations. And those minor conversations are super key in terms of relationships in an office, I found, and it's where a lot of times where you have the most benefit is having those minor conversations, which we've discarded entirely when you work online. Obviously there's lots of advantages to working online, but one of the disadvantages is that sort of removal of that sort of casual conversation where you can bring up things that you might have been thinking about, but that other people might have been thinking about, that might relate together. that wouldn't necessarily go within a retro, but worth saying and trigger something in somebody else who say something else, and then you actually get something productive. Or it might be actually all entirely casual, and even that is actually quite productive because those casual conversations again lead to better relationships lead to a more successful team. So we put in place this non-mandatory fun time, emphasizing that it's non-mandatory because we don't want to, obviously you shouldn't force people to have fun, and especially if you've got a massively active day, having to take 30 minutes out of your day in order to have fun is not going to be fun. It's be forced to attend. So it's non-mandatory. You don't have to attend. It's in the title to say it's non-mandatory. That was a nice start to the week. Get to meet people in the team. It's just a interesting, nice start to the week with the added bonus it's helping communication, building that sort of team cohesion. The other thing I did this week was continue to work with my other team about looking at prioritization of the work that's coming in. This is super key. Now this particular team is less advanced in its agile sort of thinking, and so part of that is looking at tickets that are coming in and looking at how to prioritize them. So we've developed some criteria and we're just working on developing that bit further, applying it to the various things that we have to get on with the aim of at some point down the line, so once this initial work is done, is having a roadmap, a vision for the future, building that work in. And so that this team is actually very early on in its thinking about where we're going and towards becoming a fully agile team. So it's quite an exciting time to be part of that team because we're part of that development of laying down the groundworks for agile thinking, which is brilliant. Often sort of things that you take for granted, which are in place in other teams, aren't in place here, and so it's just interesting just understanding where we are, and also it sort of helps you understand why you have those things in place in the first place, because without them you end up missing, you end up not being as highly functional as you potentially could be. Team members aren't as empowered as they potentially could be. Collaboration is a lot lower than it could be, and so all that sort of stuff, you start to realize that things are in place for a reason, and it sort of helps embed agile both within the team but also within yourself as you're doing it. And then going back to the initial team that I ran the non-mandatory fun time with, we also ran a team vision session. So this is key. This team has had a lot of ups and downs recently with people leaving and coming in and a lot of changes and so on. We also had this massive deadline which took place just shortly before I arrived. And when you're working towards a deadline, there's a very strict deadline with a lot of sort of external eyes on meeting that deadline. And then after that deadline, the drive has gone down because naturally, when you're working so hard towards something and then it's done, it's finished, what do you do next? So part of that, what do you do next, is the need for a vision, because there's no vision, and obviously without a vision, you can't determine where you want to go next. I mean, you have a roadmap, but the roadmap is influenced again by the vision. So this team is in a state where we're working on stuff actively, we're producing stuff, not an issue. But actually what we want to do next, what we want to do in the next 6 months, what we want to do in the next year, 5 years, etc., etc., all that is out in the open at the moment, and different people have different views on it. Now, to align everyone's views on it and to make it in line with what's best for the organization and what's best for the users, we need a team vision. We need to pull, and that's what this session did. It pulled everyone together, create a team vision. We actually ended up running out of time because there were so many interesting thoughts coming out of it that those dialogues felt really important to take place, and it just told me it's the right time to have this because everyone had something to say, and that's not always the case in these sessions. So it was definitely the right time to have a vision statement. So we're going to carry that on. We're going to wrap that up next time, and we are going to pull it all together and create our final vision statement. Okay, so we're at a point where we've developed a few different vision statements. Essentially, that was the end of the session, and we're now going to just pull those together into what our vision statement is. So very exciting time for that team. And then I had a couple of personal sessions with my mentor and line manager. So a mentor for a course that I'm on, which starts in September. It's a year-long course. I met my mentor and we had a chat about what our aims or what our thoughts are about the course. Very exciting stuff. I can talk more about that when it starts. And then also had a chat with my line manager. Again, she's actually off on holiday for a couple of weeks. I normally have a catch-up with her every week. It's always quite a useful catch-up, I found, in terms of bouncing some ideas off her, in terms of what I'm doing and what direction I'm going. At the moment, we've actually been looking at my personal development goals, which is because it's that sort of time of year. So we had a look at those and essentially updated them because my current PDR goals are based on my previous team. And obviously, as you know, I've moved teams. So did that, and so I've got an updated set of PDR goals. I always find PDR goals super useful because I find I need something. If I want to work well, I need something to aim for, and I need something tangible to aim for. And a lot of times, delivery can be intangible in terms of what is it that makes a good delivery manager. What is it that means I'm doing a good job? Having clear PDR goals, I found, is something which can sort of help me focus on actually what it is I'm trying to achieve. So super useful session. I have those PDR goals, always have them visible. I always refer back to them, and I always try to reflect on them at the end of the week in terms of have I made progress towards my PDR goals. Really try and make it an active document. So that's my week. I hope you enjoyed listening to that. So tune in again next time. See you all later.